Before we begin, it's important that we understand the relationship between our thoughts, our emotions, and our behaviors. Our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors interact in very complex ways. Each of them influence the other two. The idea behind cognitive behavioral therapy is to bring our thoughts, behaviors, and emotions to conscious awareness. In order to understand automatic thoughts, let's consider the following example of Dave and Sally who are on a first date. While out on the date, Dave politely asks Sally about her family. Sally immediately becomes anxious, uncomfortable, and scared. Her mood stayed this way for the rest of the date. So the question becomes, why did Sally become anxious and uncomfortable after such a benign question? The answer is automatic thoughts. By using the thought record, Sally became aware that the automatic thought she had was, Dave asked me a question to get to know me, and I worry that if he gets to know me, he will see that I'm not good enough for him. You see, the automatic thought Sally had in this example was, I'm afraid that Dave will see my flaws and then never go out with me again. Now it becomes understandable why Sally became anxious and scared. But she was becoming anxious and scared before she even allowed Dave to get to know her. She jumped to that conclusion without having any evidence. We call that a cognitive distortion, when we jump to conclusions too quickly. And that's only going to be identified if we do the thought record and evaluate our thoughts. So one of the primary goals of therapy in general is to bring our thoughts, behaviors, and feelings into awareness. Neuroscientists and psychology researchers estimate that in a 24-hour period, we might have up to 80,000 thoughts per day. That is a lot of thoughts. Many of these thoughts go unnoticed. We don't even recognize we're having them. We call them automatic thoughts because they just pop up. These automatic thoughts are critical because they influence how we feel. So by better identifying our automatic thoughts and changing how we think, then we ultimately can change how we feel. So core beliefs are really just automatic thoughts that have been narrowed down to a single concept. So for example, if we take the Dave and Sally experiment or the Dave and Sally situation, we could say that one of the automatic thoughts that Sally had was that I don't think Dave likes me. And this thought contributed to her anxious, depressed mood. So let's take that thought, for example. So Sally says, I don't think Dave likes me. And so what that means is that Sally thinks or believes that she's unlikable. And unlovable, or the thought I'm unlovable, is a core belief that when expanded out can manifest in a number of different ways. Another core belief could be that I'm weak, or I'm flawed, or eventually I will fail. All of these core beliefs manifest in so many different ways in terms of our automatic thoughts. So if we think of a tree, and the leaves being our automatic thoughts, the roots are the core beliefs that we have. And there are a number of different core beliefs. And it's important to understand or identify our automatic thoughts, because then we can ultimately change our behavior. Now, is it really important for us to identify our core beliefs? Not really. It's more important that we identify the automatic thoughts and then replace them with more positive, realistic thoughts. So that way we are basing our behavior and our feelings are based on reality. If you think to yourself, or if you believe that you're unlikable, then you're going to feel unlikable. And it's going to manifest in a number of different ways. You're going to act in ways that are in line with that feeling and that thought, which is going to further confirm that those thoughts and feelings are true, when in fact they're not actually true. So the idea behind doing the thought record and the idea behind therapy in general, specifically cognitive behavioral therapy, is really to change how we think about ourselves in order to change the way we feel. It's not easy to just change the way you think, right? This is not something that happens overnight. It also doesn't mean that when we think certain things that we just shove it aside and we suppress it. That doesn't work either. So the idea here is we have to accept what is. We have to be aware of what our thoughts and feelings are. This is where acceptance comes into play, and this is why it's so important. So acceptance involves observing without judgment, and this is not to be confused with believing our thoughts are accurate, because then we're just criticizing and judging our thoughts. That's not what acceptance is. Acceptance is not criticizing or judging. So in order to go anywhere, we must know where we are now. And it would be nearly impossible to find our destination without some understanding of where we are now. So a good start is to try observing our own thoughts and our own behaviors and our own feelings while doing our best not to judge or criticize or try to immediately change those thoughts, feelings, or behaviors. So acceptance of thoughts and moods really just means observing without judgment. This can be a great alternative to our tendency to immediately evaluate, judge, and critique them. In a way, it's very much a form of mindfulness. So cognitive distortions are really the root of why we have certain automatic thoughts that ultimately are harmful to our well-being. And there are many cognitive distortions that people can have, and we've all experienced more or less some of them. So for example, all or nothing thinking. So looking at things in black and white with no middle ground. That's all or nothing thinking. So for example, if I fall short of perfection, I'm a total failure. That's all or nothing thinking. There's no middle ground. If I fall short of perfection, I'm a total failure. Is that really true? Or how about another cognitive distortion like overgeneralization, generalizing from a single negative experience and expecting it to hold true forever. So I didn't get the job today. That means I'll never get a job ever. Or how about the mental filter, focusing on the negatives while filtering out all the positives, noticing that one little thing that went wrong and focusing on that. Classic example, after you take an exam. When you leave the exam, specialized like standardized tests, for example, you never think about the ones you got right. You always think about the ones you got wrong. Jumping to conclusions, making negative interpretations without actual evidence. You act like a mind reader. I can tell she doesn't like me. Or a fortune teller. I just know something terrible is going to happen. That's going to make you feel a certain way. Emotional reasoning, believing that the way you feel reflects reality. I feel frightened right now. That must mean I'm in real physical danger. The shoulds and should nots, holding yourself to a strict list of what you should and shouldn't do, and beating yourself up if you break any of the rules. I should go to the gym. I should read more. I should sleep better. I should do that. I should not do this. I should eat healthier. That's going to set you up to feel a certain way. You're going to feel guilty. Personalization, assuming responsibility for things that are outside our control. It's my fault that my significant other got into a car accident. I should have warned her. I should have kept her from leaving. These are all cognitive distortions that ultimately, as you do the thought record, you'll start to understand and appreciate and realize how many of these we do and how they have a negative impact on how we feel.